mobile homes are supposed to be the last affordable way to own a place in America. You buy the house, you pay it off in a few years, and after that it is yours, no landlord over your shoulder. Millions of retirees and working families bought into exactly that promise. And for a lot of them, it turned into one of the most efficient money extraction machines ever built, and they never saw it coming. Because the trap is hiding in a detail nobody thinks to ask about. When you buy a mobile home, you own the house, you hold the title, but you almost never own the ground it sits on. That belongs to the park. So every single month, you write a check to the park owner for permission to keep your own paid-off house sitting exactly where it already is. That check is called lot rent. You are not renting a place to live. You are renting the dirt underneath a home you already own. That one split, house on top, land below, owned by two different people, is where all the money comes from. Follow it far enough and you end up at a private equity firm, a lawsuit, and one of the most famous investors alive. Let's follow it. Start with the word mobile. It is doing a lot of quiet lying. When these homes were named decades ago, some of them really did move. Today, most of them cannot, not in any practical sense. To relocate a manufactured home, you are looking at roughly $3,000 to $10,000 for transport, permits, setup, and reconnection. And that assumes the home survives the trip. Many of them, especially older ones, crack, twist, or simply fall apart when you try to lift them off their foundation. So think about what that means for the person living there. When the lot rent goes up, a normal renter would just leave, pack a truck, find somewhere cheaper, gone in a weekend. But the mobile homeowner cannot do that. Their home is worth tens of thousands of dollars, and moving it costs a fortune and might destroy it. They are anchored to that patch of ground by the very thing they own. The immobility of the mobile home is the whole investment thesis. A park owner has pricing power that an ordinary landlord can only dream of because his tenants physically cannot walk away, and the owners know it. In one Senate hearing, a resident quoted her park's own investor materials, which described how difficult it is for tenants to move their homes, and noted that because of this, operating cash flow is among the highest of any real estate class. They wrote that down for investors as a selling point. Now, why would that make these parks so attractive to buy? The answer is in the math, and depending on which side of it you stand on, the math is either elegant or brutal. Commercial real estate like this is valued using two numbers. The first is net operating income, which is just the money the property brings in after expenses. The second is the cap rate, a percentage that reflects how much investors will pay for that income stream. To get the value, you divide the income by the cap rate. At a cap rate of 6 to 8%, which is common for these parks, here's what that division does. Every single extra dollar of annual income you can squeeze out of the property adds somewhere between $12 and $17 to what the whole park is worth. Not $1, 12 to 17. So if you raise the lot rent or invent a new fee or push a cost onto the tenants, you are not just collecting a little more each month. You are multiplying that increase into a large jump in the property's value the moment you refinance it or sell it. Squeeze an extra $100 a year out of each of 200 lots, and you may have just added $250,000 or more to the sale price. That is the engine. That is why these parks are prizes. And they are cheap to get into. A single lot might cost an investor around $10,000 to acquire, a fraction of what a comparable apartment unit runs. Think about what that combination gives you. To build or buy an apartment building, you pour money into the actual structures, the roofs, the plumbing, the kitchens, and you carry the cost of maintaining all of it. In a mobile home park, the residents own the structures, they maintain them, they insure them. The investor owns almost nothing but the land, the roads, and the utility lines, and collects rent on all of it. Low entry, low overhead, captive tenants, and a valuation math that rewards every rent hike with a multiplied payday. If you were designing an investment to be maximally extractive, you would have a hard time beating it. For a long time, almost nobody played this game at scale. Mobile home parks were mom-and-pop operations. The owner often lived nearby, knew the residents by name, and raised rent maybe $10 or $15 a year, if at all. Then the institutions noticed. Between 2017 and 2019, institutional investors made up about 13% of all park purchases. By 2020 and 2021, that had jumped to 23%. By recent counts, 23 private equity firms alone own more than 1,800 parks across the country, and a lot of these deals were financed quietly with loans backed by the federal mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Government-supported money, helping buy up the country's cheapest housing. Once a park changes hands, the pattern is familiar, and analysts who track these firms describe it as a cycle. Buy the park, raise the lot rent, let the engine we just walked through do its work, turning that higher rent into a much higher sale price, then sell it, often within just a few years, to the next investor at a profit, who does the same thing again. The residents stay put through every sale because they cannot move, while the ground beneath them is bought and flipped over their heads. Take Swartz Creek Estates in Michigan. After the firm Haven Park acquired it in 2018, the lot rent was hiked and new fees appeared. Garbage charges, a school tax, administrative fees unbundled from the base rent. One resident, Ferris Hook, testified before the United States Senate that her monthly cost went from $310 to over $500, a jump of more than 50% on a park full of low-income seniors. The same firm bought a park called Gulfview in North Liberty, Iowa, and announced increases that ran as high as 60%. One 72-year-old retiree there watched her lot rent climb from $295 toward nearly $500, on ground she had lived on for more than 20 years. Nationally, lot rents have climbed about 45% over the past decade. In some parks, the increases have been far steeper, with residents describing base rents doubling in a single letter taped to their door. Now, is any of this coordinated? That question landed in federal court. A group of residents filed an antitrust lawsuit alleging that major park operators used a shared data service called Datacomp, which is tied to a large operator called Equity Lifestyle Properties, to pass around non-public rent information and push prices up together. The complaint pointed out that lot rents rose about 9.1% a year between 2019 and 2021, compared with roughly 2.3% a year in the years before, on residents whose median household income sits around $35,000. And the story did not end the way the headlines suggested. In December 2025, a federal judge dismissed that case. The plaintiffs refiled an amended complaint in early 2026, and the defendants moved to dismiss again. The companies have called the claims meritless and say they intend to fight. So this is not a proven conspiracy. It is a contested allegation that a court has already thrown out once. Hold it exactly that loosely. Let's follow the money into a smaller pipe, your water. Many of these parks are master metered, meaning the owner receives a single water and sewer bill for the whole property. What happens next is a quiet lever. Owners shift that cost onto residents, often through something called a ratio utility billing system, or RUBS, which divides the master bill among the lots using a formula. Sometimes they install submeters instead. On the surface, that is just cost recovery, but it can become a profit center. Bill each lot a flat amount that runs a little ahead of actual usage, and the owner keeps the difference. Submetering does something else useful for the owner too. When people start paying for exactly what they use 20 to 30% less, which trims the master bill while the billing revenue holds steady. And because every dollar of that flows into the same engine, it can turn into 6 or even 7 figures of added property value. Water becomes wealth. In fairness, several states have started moving to restrict these markups, so the honest counterweight exists. Now for the layer almost nobody connects, and it leads to one of the most respected names in American finance. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway owns Clayton Homes, the largest builder of manufactured homes in the United States. Clayton also owns the lenders that finance them, Vanderbilt Mortgage and 21st Mortgage. So the same parent company can build your home, sell you your home, and lend you the money for your home. In 2015, a Seattle Times investigation, done with the Center for Public Integrity, examined what that looked like in practice. It found interest rates that could top 15%, high enough that a borrower could still owe more than the home was worth after paying for 15 years. Federal lending data from that period showed Clayton's lenders made 72% of the mobile home loans taken out by black borrowers. Buffett publicly defended the company's practices, saying he made no apologies for its lending. Then, more recently, the regulators moved. In January 2025, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau sued Vanderbilt, alleging it approved loans people plainly could not afford by using artificially low estimates of their living expenses. In one cited case, the Bureau said a family of 5 was left with just $57.78 of disposable income each month after their loan. Vanderbilt called the suit unfounded and politically motivated, and then something notable happened. That March, under a changed administration, the CFPB dropped the case. So once again, you are looking at an allegation that was filed and then withdrawn, not a finding of guilt. The claim was serious. It also never got tested. Now stack the layers and look at the machine you have built. A family wants a shot at owning a home. They buy a manufactured house, possibly from a builder owned by Berkshire Hathaway. They finance it through a lender owned by the same company at a rate that can run into the teens. Then they set that home down in a park, and they rent the dirt beneath it from a private equity firm that raises the lot rent they cannot escape, and marks up their water on the way through. At each step, the money flows up to someone with vastly more power than they have. So go back to that promise at the start. The last affordable way to own a home in America. For some families in some parks, it still is exactly that. But put the builder, the lender, the park, and the water bill together, and a lot of the time you are not looking at a ladder into the middle class. You are looking at a machine, built carefully around people who have the fewest options and the least ability to walk away. That is the real economics of owning the dirt.